Diyarbakir Prison. The name itself conjures images of suffering, of darkness, of unspeakable horrors. Located in southeastern Turkey, this imposing fortress was more than just a prison. It was a symbol of oppression, a place where the very soul of a nation seemed to wither and die. Built in the late 19th century, Diyarbakir's grim reputation grew with each passing decade. But it was in the aftermath of the 1980 military coup that the prison would truly descend into an abyss of cruelty, becoming a terrifying emblem of state-sanctioned violence and a stark warning to those who dared to challenge the regime. The year 1980 marked a turning point in Turkey's history. On September 12, the Turkish military seized control of the government in a bloodless coup, the third such intervention in 2 decades. The generals justified their actions by claiming that Turkey was on the brink of chaos, torn apart by political violence and social unrest. They promised to restore order, to crush terrorism, and to safeguard the unity of the nation. But their words rang hollow for many, particularly those who valued democracy and human rights. In the aftermath of the coup, Turkey was placed under martial law. The military junta moved swiftly to consolidate its power, shutting down newspapers, banning political parties, and arresting anyone suspected of dissent. Thousands of people were rounded up and imprisoned, often without trial or due process. Among them were journalists, students, academics, trade unionists, and anyone deemed a threat to the new regime. These political prisoners were sent to prisons across the country, but Diarbakir became notorious as a destination for the most troublesome inmates. Conditions inside Diyarbakir Prison were nothing short of horrific. Cells designed for a handful of inmates were crammed with dozens of men, sometimes as many as 50. The air was thick with the stench of sweat, excrement, and despair. Disease was rampant, and medical care was practically non-existent. Food was scarce and often inedible. Inmates were subjected to constant psychological and physical abuse at the hands of their guards, who ruled the prison with an iron fist. Section 5. Instruments of pain torture at Diarbakir. Torture was not merely commonplace at Diarbakir, it was an integral part of the prison's daily routine. The prison, notorious for its brutal conditions, became a symbol of the state's oppressive measures. The guards, often acting with impunity, enforced a regime of terror that left an indelible mark on the inmates. Inmates were subjected to a horrifying array of physical and psychological abuse, designed to break their spirits and force them into submission. The psychological torment was as severe as the physical, with prisoners often left in a state of perpetual fear and anxiety. The relentless abuse created an environment where hope was a distant memory. Beatings with fists, clubs, and rifle butts were routine. The guards showed no mercy, and the beatings were often administered without any provocation. The sound of blows landing on flesh was a constant reminder of the ever-present threat of violence. Electric shocks were administered to sensitive parts of the body. This form of torture was particularly feared, as it caused excruciating pain and left lasting physical and psychological scars. The screams of those subjected to electric shocks echoed through the prison walls. Prisoners were stripped naked, doused with cold water, and left to shiver in their cells. This method of torture was designed to break down the prisoners' physical resistance and leave them vulnerable to further abuse. The cold seeped into their bones, making every moment a struggle for survival. Sleep deprivation, solitary confinement, and sexual assault were also widely employed. The lack of sleep drove many prisoners to the brink of madness, while solitary confinement isolated them from any form of human contact. Sexual assault added another layer of humiliation and trauma. The guards, often acting with impunity, seemed to take a perverse pleasure in inflicting pain and suffering. Their laughter and mockery added to the prisoners' sense of helplessness and despair. The cruelty of Diyarbakir Prison remains a dark chapter in history, a testament to the depths of human brutality. Section 6. Testimonies from Hell, Voices of the Survivors. This chapter delves into the harrowing experiences of those who endured the unimaginable horrors within the walls of Diyarbakir Prison. The stories that emerged from Diyarbakir were the stuff of nightmares. The prison, notorious for its brutal conditions, became a symbol of human suffering and resilience. Survivors spoke of being forced to crawl on the floor like animals, stripped of their dignity and humanity. The psychological torment was as severe as the physical abuse. They recounted being made to drink their own urine, a method of humiliation designed to break their spirits. The cruelty knew no bounds. Witnessing the deaths of their cellmates was a common occurrence. The constant presence of death added to the pervasive atmosphere of despair. One former inmate, Mehmet Demir, described how he was tortured for days on end, enduring unimaginable pain and suffering. They beat me with clubs, relentlessly, until I could barely stand. The beatings were a daily routine, a grim reminder of their power over us. They gave me electric shocks, sending waves of agony through my body. The pain was excruciating and the fear of the next shock was almost unbearable. They hung me from the ceiling, leaving me to dangle in agony. The physical pain was matched only by the mental torment of not knowing when it would end. I thought I was going to die. Every moment was a struggle to survive, to hold on to a sliver of hope amidst the darkness. Another survivor, Ahmet Zeki Okuoglu, recalled the pervasive sense of fear and hopelessness, a feeling that never left them. We were living in constant terror. The guards' unpredictability made every day a new nightmare. We never knew what was going to happen to us next. The uncertainty was a weapon in itself, keeping us on edge, breaking us down bit by bit. The psychological scars ran deep, long after the physical wounds had healed. Section 7. International Condemnation, a stain on Turkey's reputation. As reports of the atrocities committed at Diarbakir began to filter out, the international community reacted with outrage. Human rights organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch condemned the Turkish government for its systematic use of torture and its blatant disregard for human rights. The European Court of Human Rights received numerous complaints from former inmates of Diyarbakir, and in several landmark cases, it ruled that Turkey had violated the European Convention on Human Rights. Section 8. Justice delayed, justice denied. The long shadow of Diarbakir. Despite the international condemnation, the Turkish government long denied any wrongdoing at Diarbakir. It was not until the early 2000s, after years of pressure from human rights groups and former inmates, that the Turkish government finally acknowledged that abuses had taken place. However, even then, there was little effort to hold those responsible for the atrocities accountable. Many perpetrators, including guards and prison officials, continued to enjoy impunity. Section 9. Conclusion. A legacy of pain, a call for accountability. Diyarbakir Prison stands as a chilling reminder of the human capacity for cruelty and the devastating consequences of unchecked state power. Built in the early 1980s, it quickly became infamous for its brutal treatment of inmates, many of whom were political prisoners. The stories that emerged from within its walls are harrowing, tales of torture, inhumane conditions, and relentless psychological abuse. These accounts are not just historical footnotes. They are vivid memories that continue to affect the lives of survivors and their families. The legacy of Diarbakir continues to haunt Turkey today, serving as a powerful symbol of the struggle for human rights and the importance of accountability. The prison has become a focal point for activists and historians alike, who seek to ensure that the atrocities committed there are neither forgotten nor repeated. Public demonstrations and memorials are held regularly, demanding justice for the victims and calling for systemic reforms to prevent such abuses in the future. The scars left by Diarbakir, both physical and psychological, run deep. Survivors often speak of the long-lasting impact of their experiences, from chronic health issues to enduring mental trauma. These scars are not just personal, they are collective wounds that have shaped the social and political landscape of Turkey. The pain and suffering endured by those who were imprisoned there serve as a stark reminder of the need for vigilance in protecting human rights. They are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, but also a stark warning about the fragility of freedom and the ever-present threat of tyranny. The courage shown by former prisoners and their families in speaking out against their oppressors is inspiring. Their stories of survival and resistance highlight the importance of standing up against injustice, no matter the cost. The candle burning in the dark room symbolizes hope and the enduring fight for freedom and dignity. The story of Diyarbakir is not just a Turkish story, it is a universal story. A story about the dangers of silence, the importance of remembering, and the ongoing fight for justice and human dignity. It serves as a poignant reminder that the struggle for human rights is a global one, transcending borders and cultures. The international community must remain vigilant and proactive in addressing human rights abuses wherever they occur. By remembering Diarbakir, we honor the past and commit to a future where such atrocities are never allowed to happen again.